Slaps. Today, we're talking about slaps, but not that kind of slap. We're talking about strategic lawsuits against public participation. Oh my. Now, what is a slap? They are lawsuits without real merit launched by private entities against citizens who publicize views that could damage corporate interests. So for a bit less of a dry description is Veronica, who has been doing some research and writing about slap suits, and can give us some more details.
Well, yeah. Hello, Tomoe. What can I say? You already said it all. Like, slaps really are meant to deter people from speaking out. What they are intended to do is they want people to shut up. The corporations use them to scare people off. If you are talking about them and they feel their reputation is threatened, they're gonna try to slap you to make you back off.
Can you give us some examples of like where this has happened and who has been slapped?
Well, this happens fairly often in the States. The most famous case happened in England in the 80s, and it was the Mclibel case, where these activists were giving out pamphlets to people saying that McDonald's, caused heart attacks and could kill you and caused obesity, and they had a bunch of statements in their pamphlet. So McDonald's sued them. So and they sued them for millions and millions of pounds because it's not dollars on there, and the problem is if you make 20 statements and 18 are right, but 2 are wrong, you're still basically guilty of defamation. Not only that, but if I say that you are guilty of defamation, that you're saying lies about me, and I bring this to court, you have to prove that you're saying the truth. I don't have to do anything. The only thing that I have to say is that you are indeed guilty of defamation. So it's a lot of effort. It takes a lot of effort for the person that is being sued, number one. And number two, it costs you a lot of money. Like big corporations have big bucks, right? If you're a small NGO, an activist, whatever, you don't have a lot of money. So it can be really, really scary to have a big company like McDonald's suing you.
So like what's the real motivation for a corporation to sue an activist, for example? Like if it's not a question of justice, or I mean, is it just straight up justice, or is it?
No, it's not justice.
Else?
No, it's not justice. It doesn't matter. A corporation doesn't care about justice or not. They care about the reputation, because if you're making them look bad, if you're saying that their food, for example, in the case of McDonald's, if you're saying that their food is going to make people fat and it's going to kill them and it's going to make them addicted, then that doesn't reflect good on McDonald's. And maybe they are scared that their product is going to suffer. Not their product, but their sales. So their bottom line is going to suffer. So it's not a matter of justice. It's a matter of economics. If you're writing something and nobody reads it, they don't care. But if people are actually paying attention to you, or they feel that they might pay attention to you, then they might slap you.
And so I heard that slaps are not so much for punishing the people that have been perpetrating maybe libel, but more to scare other people away.
For sure,
Does that tend to happen?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Because, I don't know, in Quebec, there's been a couple of cases. But for sure, if you're an environmentalist in Quebec and you're an NGO, whatever, that works for the environment, and you see that people are getting, like other NGOs are getting slapped, you're going to be very, very careful about what you say. You're going to make sure that you have tons and tons of evidence, and you're really going to be very aware of the statements that you make. Like usually a defamation lawsuit implies that you're trying to curtail a little bit of freedom of expression. Like it's one of the elements of a defamation lawsuit. So for sure, like other people, it creates a chilling effect where people will not want to talk or speak out because they're going to be afraid it's going to happen to them too, right?
Mm-hmm. So in terms of citizen participation and public outcry against something, that seems like a tool of stifling that kind of behavior.
For sure.
for, which doesn't seem particularly just to me, but is that even legal to do?
It is very legal, and that's why corporations do it, because it is legal, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem. There's a problem in the law when you're a small little guy and there's a big old corporation, and they can actually come and threaten you and like push you around, you know, like.
Uh-huh. So is there any proposed legislation to change, any anti-slapp legislation coming up?
Yeah, well, the Quebec Parliament is analyzing whether they should have some. Of course, people like the Green Party and the NDP are pushing for it. Some liberals are. I think a lot of conservatives are not very happy with this. Usually people that tend to be very friendly towards corporations, like neoliberal people, would not be inclined to create anti-slapping legislation, but I think it actually might happen. We might be able to get anti-slapping legislation. In the States, a lot of states actually have anti-slapping legislation because this was becoming commonplace in the States. So now they do have anti-slapping legislation where if there's a suit that has no real merit, they will not let it go. They will not let it threaten, you know, expression, you know, like your charter given right to free expression, you know?
Uh-huh. So have you talked to any lawyers who are working toward this?
Yeah, well, like I spoke to Julius Gray. He's a human rights lawyer, so he's really concerned about this because this is clearly affecting freedom of expression. Mm-hmm. And particularly because there's not even a merit on these lawsuits, you know? They are intended to stop public participation. They are against the public interest, and so like something has to be done. So if somebody wants to do anything about them, maybe they could just contact their MP and tell them that you would like them to focus on anti-slapping legislation to get the wheels going.
You heard her. So those are slap suits, and check in. We might have more later.